Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I'm so glad you're joining us here tonight on the Joe Kelley Show. Drizzly afternoon. We had, that was some serious rain, lightning we had earlier today, but I am glad that has passed us, but we still have a lot of drizzly rain. It's kind of Seattle-esque at the moment. For those of you who have visited the Emerald City, you'll know what I'm talking about. Somebody just asked, Jude asked in the chat box there on the WDBO Facebook page, if you want to see the video behind the scenes of Laurel, Paul Cross, and me, you can see it right now on the WDBO Facebook page. And Jude in the comment section asked, are you going to be doing the same content that you did this morning on the Brian Kilmeade show? The answer is no, I'm not. I've got all new content here for the next 2 hours. And I'm pretty excited about what we're going to be discussing here in the next couple of hours. As a programming note, I will be filling in for Brian Kilmeade again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to noon. That is on his network show, not just here in Orlando, but on all of his affiliated radio stations, which, again, totally fun. If you ever get invited to fill in for Brian Kilmeade, I highly, highly, highly recommend you take it. Because it is a lot of fun. For that matter, as I've said time and again, if you ever get offered a job in radio, take it. It'll be a lot of fun. You're not going to make a lot of money, but you'll have a lot of fun. Of that, I can promise you. All right, Orange County leaders. Orange County leaders are looking at a pay raise of 25% effective September 17th. So a month and a half or so from now. A 25% pay increase. Now, they had a vote on this, and the vote was 5-2. So 5 of the commissioners voted to approve a 25% pay increase. 2 voted against it. One of the 2 that voted against it is the mayor, Jerry Demings, and then County Commissioner Emily Bonilla, who represents Winter Park and Bithlo in District 5. She voted against it. So the mayor and one commissioner voted against a 25% pay increase. The other 5 voted in favor of it. Now, Orange County commissioners are currently paid about $91,000 annually. The mayor makes $182,000 and change. $182,000 and change. The new pay, so the commissioners would go from $91,000 to $113,000. The mayor, who again voted against this, would go from $182,000 to $227,000, more than $250,000 to be the mayor of Orange County. One of the county's public officials would still make more than the mayor, and that is Orange County Sheriff John Mina, who makes about $229,000. I don't believe that the sheriff is included in this pay increase. I think it's just for the county commissioners and for the mayor. Now, the county commissioners are using as a rationale for their pay increase what other counties are paying their commissioners. Now, I need to point out that this is not a done deal. This is absolutely not a done deal. And there will be further discussions and public hearings on this. The next opportunity for you to voice your concerns is going to be September 7th, and then again at September 21st at 5 p.m. That is the county's budget for the next fiscal year is still subject to public hearings. Now, the second of which is September 21st, but the pay increase is supposed to go into effect September 17th. Nothing like having a hearing on a pay increase after the pay increase would have taken effect. Now, I got to tell you, I am always in favor of people getting pay raises. I've said that before, and I'm very consistent about it. I think everybody, except for corporate CEOs, I think everybody is underpaid, particularly workers. Workers are underpaid. The real workers of America are vastly, vastly underpaid. CEO salary has gone through the roof. Inflation has gone through the roof. But you and me, average workers, people who don't own capital, but we work for people who own capital. We are vastly underpaid. I'm not saying this on behalf of me. I'm saying this on behalf of you. And I don't doubt that county commissioners deserve a pay increase. I don't doubt it at all. In fact, I'm sure I would favor a pay increase. But I think they are breathtakingly tone deaf for suggesting that now is the time for a 25% pay increase. When was the last time you had a pay increase? When was the last time citizens of Orange County had pay increases? And what was the percentage? 2%? 3% maybe? 4% cost of living adjustment? A 25% pay increase at this time when rent is unaffordable for most people in Orange County, when mortgages are unattainable for most people in Orange County, when people are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet? It is remarkably tone deaf for Orange County commissioners to suggest that a 25% pay increase is appropriate. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. What do you think? What do you think that they're worth a 25% pay increase? There are other options when it comes to pay increases, like none. None is always an option. You could always vote for none. But some of the other, there were 4 different proposals made offering pay increase options ranging from a 7% increase up to 24.58%, so 25%. So from 7% to 25%. Hell, 7% pay increase is a nice pay increase. I can tell you, I didn't get a 7% pay increase. I would love to have had a 7% pay increase. I would love to get a 7% pay increase. A 25% pay increase? I just can't get over how tone deaf county commissioners can be, at least 5 of the 7. As their own citizens, as their own constituents struggle day to day to get by, our county commissioners, 5 of whom say, I'm going to get a 25% pay increase. Now, there is always a strategy at play here when it comes to negotiation, right? You always ask for the stars and moon, and then you hope you get something that doesn't suck. So I don't discount the possibility that the commissioners are going public with, hey, we're going to go for a 25% pay increase, and then settle for a 20% pay increase, or settle for a 15% pay increase, both of which are similarly ludicrous in their size. And if nothing else, I would think that the commissioners should stair-step their pay increases. Or make them not effective until the next elections for each of the commissioners. They have staggered elections. So they're not all up for election at the same time. But there is nothing more self-serving than voting yourself a pay increase. If you had the capacity to vote yourself a pay increase, don't you think you would do that? Wouldn't you vote for your own pay increase? But if you knew that you were voting for a pay increase for the person who gets elected next, you might not be quite so quick to say that a 25% pay increase is appropriate. So I would vote for something significantly lower, something that most of the constituents are getting, 4%, 5%, 6% tops, and then either stair-step it so that in 2 years you'll get 5%, in another 2 years you'll get another 5%, and another 2 years you'll get 5%, or make it so it's not effective until the next elections for each of the commissioners' seats. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that well? It makes so much sense in my head. I'm just not sure it's making sense when it comes out of my mouth. So let me know. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. We'll start with Stan. Hey, Stan, you're on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. How are you?
Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet, bud.
One of the really important big dollar numbers comes later. You see, these people, after a little while, will be vested at these higher levels. So when they leave office, they'll rip us off for 25%, even more, on their retirement benefits.
So I can't speak to that because I don't know that. I don't know to what extent that is true. Do you happen to know for a fact that is true?
These people get vested when they're in their places for a long time. Look what happened to Mrs. Val Demings when she left the OPD. She was at the new level for 1 day and then announced her retirement. But that took her all the way down the rest of the river.
Yeah, I'm not at all discounting what you're saying, Stan. I can't comment on it because I don't know if that is the fact for our county commissioners.
Reasonable question.
Yeah,
but we have to look at a bigger picture than just that one number. There are other variables. These commissioners have monies they can spend in various ways within the office.
Okay, that part is true. That part is absolutely true, and I do know about that. And each of the county commissioners get to present their case for their county's budget. And so there is more than just the salary for the commissioner at stake here, because each of the commissioners gets to present, their budget for their county and to decide how much money they're going to get for each county.
I like your suggestion about tying it into elections, so it goes down not all at once.
Yeah, right. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, and if it's good for the sitting commissioners, then it should be good for the subsequent commissioners. But it just doesn't come off quite as self-serving if the pay increases go to subsequent commissioners rather than the current commissioners. Thank you so much for your call there, Stan. I really appreciate that. We'll continue with more of your calls and comments coming up straight ahead. The number is 844-580-WDBO, or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
I'm glad you're joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show. This is the time of the show in which we share with you all of the stories that you missed while you're at work today. These are the headlines and stories that you missed since 9 a.m. this morning. First, a Georgia judge rejects former President Trump's efforts to quash an investigation into his efforts to overturn the state's 2020 election results. This as a former President Trump's newest co-defendant in the Mar-a-Lago case. His name is Carlos de Oliveira. He was released on a $100,000 bond after an initial court appearance today. Former President Trump also predicted that he would be indicted any day now, his words, as part of a special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into his conduct after the 2020 election. It was big. This story broke about 4 hours ago. Actor and comedian Paul Reubens, known for his character as Pee Wee Herman, is dead at the age of 70. I know a lot of us were like, holy cow, that guy was 70 years old. That was a bit of a surprise. And then his cause of death was a bit of a surprise. In that, none of us knew that he had cancer. And can you believe that guy wrote a note to his fans before he died, apologizing to his fans for not sharing that he had cancer? It's none of our business whether or not Paul Reubens had cancer, and he doesn't owe me or anybody else an apology for dying of cancer. He was 70 years old. 3 hours ago, the NFL increased proposed penalties for sexual misconduct involving coercion or threats, and the discipline can now account for patterns of conduct. The move comes after a judge who oversaw Deshaun Watson's hearing cited the policy's limits. Devin Archer, 2 hours ago, testified that Hunter Biden put Joe Biden on speakerphone with business partners approximately 20 times. Now, will the network news tonight cover that at 6:30? It'll be interesting. It should be their lead story. I'm sure it will not. Just 2 hours ago, doomsday mom Lori Vallow Daybell was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing her own 2 children. She's been described as a cult mom. 2 hours ago as well, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for a suicide bombing in Pakistan that killed 54 people at a pro-Taliban clerics rally. A driver 2 hours ago. No, we don't get to that. That's not relevant. This is a big story. Just last hour, President Biden announced he will keep the Space Command for the U.S. Space Force. He's going to keep it in Colorado, overturning a Trump decision to move it to Alabama. So it's going to be in Colorado, not in Alabama. So there you go. Those are the headlines you missed while you're at work today. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Michael, you're on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. We're talking about pay increases for the Orange County Commissioners. How are you, Michael?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Wonderful, thanks.
You just scrambled my whole brain with all the news and what we were just talking about. I forgot.
So we're talking about the pay increase for the Orange County Commissioners. They want a 25% pay increase.
I believe your previous caller, what was his name, Stan?
Yep.
Was hitting on something. My question is, who voted for that? Was it the people of the county, or was it them who voted for it?
No, it's the commissioners. They're voting on their own raise.
They get to vote for their own pay increase.
Correct.
And who agreed to let them do that?
Well, I would imagine it's in the charter. I mean, they have to follow certain rules and laws as county commissioners, and I would imagine that's in the charter.
Who did that should be fired.
Well, you'd have to go back some time. They might be dead at this point.
Okay, well, it's time.
Which is worse than being fired.
Really. No, really. No.
I think what you're getting at.
If you and Laurel and Jeff could all vote for your own pay increase.
Oh yeah.
And it was between 2% and 25%. What would you guys vote for?
Yeah, 25%. Absolutely so. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Michael, thank you so much. And I think what you're getting at is maybe this should go to a referendum. Maybe the citizens of Orange County should get a vote on something like this. We'll continue with more of your calls and comments coming up next. Stay with us here on the Joe Kelley Show.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
Well, I did. I took my daughter back to school shopping on Saturday. She heads back to University of Tennessee in just a few days, starting her new semester at Tennessee, and we went shopping at the Mall of Millennia. Had a lot of fun. It was a sales tax holiday, so I saved, roughly 7%, 6.75% shopping, but we just had a lovely time. And if you're the praying type, if you wouldn't mind saying a prayer for Sierra, for her safety and health, as she makes her way back to Knoxville, Tennessee, I would certainly appreciate that, and I'm sure that she would as well. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the Orange County Commissioners, 5 of whom voted for a 25% pay increase, 2 of whom did not, including the mayor, Jerry Demings. He voted no to a 25% pay increase. What do you guys think?
It would be really interesting to see, scratch that, rewind, try again, hear what some Orange County employees feel about that.
No doubt. No doubt about it. I mean, these are the leaders of the county. These are the bosses, and they're voting themselves a 25% pay increase. What kind of pay increase are Orange County workers getting? I think that is probably the best question. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. Let's go to Mel, who's checking in here on the Joe Kelley Show. What's up, Mel?
I want to ask you a question about United States congressmen and United States senators. What are their salaries?
So they make $174,000 a year, roughly. Depends if they're in a leadership position, they can make a little bit more. But they all make the same. Members of the House and Senate make the same. It's $174,000.
So these guys would be making maybe $50,000 more, $40,000 more.
Yeah, boy, that puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Darn right it does, but people have to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
It just ups your taxes. It's ridiculous.
You're absolutely right, Mel, and I think that the commissioners are just entirely tone deaf.
There's something deaf, but not deaf when they want the money.
No, evidently not. Mel, thank you so much. I'm so glad you called. 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic and the WDBO app.
Joe, the average person I know gets a 3% at most raise a year. At least the last few years it's been that way. And I don't think our commissioners deserve even that. I truly don't, and I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Everybody that I know, everybody that I've worked with, are making 2-3% pay increases. And that's about it.
Hey, Joe, it's Josh from Altamont.
Josh!
I got 3 words for you. Performance-based pay.
Yeah, I'm down for performance-based pay, but I am not sure how you measure performance for city and county employees. I don't know what the metrics are for measuring performance. I mean, for most of us, if you're working on a factory floor, how few errors you make is part of the metrics. How many widgets you produce is part of the metrics. But how do we measure metrics for public employees? That I do not know.
What a joke! 25% increase in salary? That's BS. What about all our city employees? Are we also going to get a 25% increase in salary or a lousy 1%? Those county commissioners don't even work an 8-hour day. So I don't understand how they can write themselves an increase like that. That's absolutely ridiculous in this day and age.
So the only thing I would beg to differ on is I don't discount how hard they work. To say that they don't work an 8-hour day, I know that the mayor works 24 hours a day. The mayor is always on call. And to maybe only a slightly lesser extent, the county commissioners are similarly on call 24 hours a day. They always have to be able to respond to their constituents.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Paul Cross, checking our drive. We had big storms earlier. Fortunately, now we just have drizzle and some very light rain. But the damage may already be done when it comes to the drive.
Yeah, you think the rain going away would help a lot, but it really hasn't. It's stuck around. It has helped a little, but there are still really, really busy areas right now. And we do have that multi-vehicle crash, 429 northbound, right before Stony Brook Parkway. And you got traffic backed up for about 1.5 miles. It's actually to just before New Independence Parkway. So, again, 429, if you're heading up from Horizon west up into Ocoee area, you are going to have some major delays. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
Commissioners deserve the same cost of living raise as teachers of $900 for the year.
Teachers getting a $900 raise for the year. Wow. Now, when it comes to county and city employees, and of course, we're talking specifically about the county, so let's just focus on county employees. I am reasonably sure that the county employees are part of a collective bargaining agreement. I'm reasonably sure that they're unionized labor, and so obviously, pay increases for unionized labor is a different ballgame than it is for people who are not part of a collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, so about this pay raise. The mayor is basically giving himself almost a $1,000 a week pay raise, and I have to decide which credit card I can pay. Forget about credit cards. None of them are getting paid. I got to worry about the gas bill, the electric bill, the water bill, the rent, everything else, car insurance, cell phone. What in the world are people supposed to do?
Yeah. The only thing I just want to point out, just make sure that everything that we're saying here is true and accurate. The mayor himself I mean, you referenced the mayor there in that open mic, but the mayor himself voted against the 25% pay increase. The mayor voted against it. Mayor Jerry Demings and County Commissioner Emily Bonilla both voted against the pay increase.
Connie from Orlando.
Hi, Connie.
I believe the commissioner's salary and increases should be put up to a vote by we the people, not themselves. 25%. Give me a break.
So I like the idea of it. So that would be a referendum. That would go to the voters of Orange County only. People that live in Osceola and Seminole County don't get a vote on what happens in Orange County. But I just don't know how the charter is structured. I don't know if that is something that would be allowed to go to a referendum. Though ideally, that would certainly still, that would be the way that I would choose to go about it. Bart is joining us at 844-580-WDBO, and you're thinking the same thing, that a referendum would be the way to go on something like this.
Well, I'm assigning you homework. You get to research whether or not the county charter will allow us to do that. And if the people vote and say yes, they get a 25% raise, and that's the way the people vote, great, more power to them.
Yep.
Let's take a look at it. Let's see if they deserve it. Let's see if it's comparable to other municipalities, or let's see if it's a money grab. If they're doing such an amazing job that they deserve this money, well, okay, great. More power to them. They deserve it. We'll give it to them. And we'll rubber stamp it and say yes. And a comment, hey, you did a great job filling in for Kilmeade today. Thanks for all your efforts. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you, Bart. It's nice hearing from you. I appreciate that very much. And there's just something unseemly about people, be it county commissioners or whatever, but people voting for their own pay increases. It's not unlike, corporate CEOs who go to the board and say, here's what I want to make. Here's what you're going to pay me. It is unseemly to have county commissioners voting on their own pay increases, which is, again, why I go to it either should go to a referendum if the charter allows for that, or it should be stair-stepped so they don't go from a 0% increase to a 25% increase, or preferably, actually, a referendum would be preferable to me. But next to a referendum, I would suggest that the best way to go about doing it, for the benefit of the county commissioners, so they don't look like money grabbing prostitutes. I would say that it would be not retroactive, but it would be what's the opposite of retroactive? Future active, that it takes place after they leave office. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if county commissioners are underpaid, these county commissioners took the job knowing what the pay was. These county commissioners not only took the jobs, because they didn't apply for the jobs, they ran for the jobs. These people spent a lot of money to get these jobs that pay what they currently pay. So if they want to be altruistic about it, if they want to show, look, this is not about me. This is not about me making more money. This is about paying county commissioners what they're due, then make it to the point where it's not effective until the next person takes office. Or at the very least, if you get reelected, as soon as your office is up for reelection, whether the incumbent wins reelection or someone new wins the seat, I don't think it should be active. The pay increase should not be active until the new person or the incumbent is reelected. Paul Cross.
I want to know if your thoughts are, is it them voting for their own raise or the percentage that they're actually voting for, or both?
Well, I think the percentage is obscene, and I think anybody voting for their own pay increases is unseemly. It's not obscene, but it is. It's really lousy optics. I mean, it just looks terrible for county commissioners to say, I want to vote myself in a 25% pay increase. And frankly, the
same thing. What if it was 10%? Just what 10% is still kind of high, but is it still a moral thing of voting for your own raise?
Yes, it is. And at least 10% is not as obscene as a 25% pay increase. But voting for your own pay increase, holding taxpayers over a barrel, to me is just grossly inappropriate. I mean, there is a way to do it. There's a way to pull it off. And again, making it, so that the subsequent office holder gets the pay increase. At least that way it looks like you're being altruistic. The optics are much better rather than the optics of you just paying for a pay increase. Because I'm reasonably sure that a lot of Orange County voters, of course, we have short-term memories. Right. So when it comes up, when these Orange County commissioners come up for reelection, if they do, in fact, vote themselves a 25% pay increase, frankly, constituents should be angry enough that they're going to say, I'm going to vote that guy out or that woman out because they voted themselves a 25% pay increase. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Mark is up next. Mark, you're joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Hi, Mark.
Howdy. I was surprised I got on this zone. But by the way, the federal government, Congress, and the Senate, I think, vote for their own raises, for what it's worth.
The House and Senate both do.
I agree completely with the 25% being an issue. But I would say if they pass it, almost anyone could run for election against them on the platform of retroactively, or not retroactively, reducing it back to something reasonable, and they probably win the landslide. Over.
Boy, that is very. Did you just say over? He did, didn't he? Did he say over at the end of his statement? Over. All right. I might adapt that. Yeah, all right. So we'll continue. More of your calls and comments coming up straight ahead. Plus, Governor DeSantis says he would consider pardoning Donald Trump to unite the country. Well, I've got a problem with that. And we'll have details coming up next. Stay with us here. You're listening to The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
All right, we have a live video chat room. It's on the WDBO Facebook page. You're welcome to join us. We'd love to have you in the chat room. And I asked the chat group if they wanted to hear a gross story, and they said yes. So I'm going to share with you a gross story. Laurel, are you ready for a gross story?
I sure am.
I know how you like gross stories.
I do.
Yeah. So a woman is dead. You knew that someone was going to be dead, right? This happened Friday in Woodbridge, New Jersey, at a place called United Premium Foods. It is a food processing plant. Amongst other things, they make dog food, a fresh premium pet food, and they've got a wide range of manufacturing equipment. Anyhow, a woman fell. Man, you got to be careful where you fall. She fell into a meat processor. It is an industrial grinder and high-capacity blender, and she fell into it. OSHA and the police are now investigating. And yes, as I pointed out, she obviously died a gruesome death. Horrible. I told you it was a horrible story. Next time you'll believe me when I tell you it's a gross story. Hang on, we got a lot more to talk about coming up straight ahead here on The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Got a broken down vehicle 408 eastbound at Mills. It's blocking the right lane. And then a crash 408 eastbound near Dean Road. Also another wreck 528 eastbound at John Young Parkway. It's still very, very busy out there. So again, make sure you keep your distance between you and the car ahead of you. Let's get home safely tonight. ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Service. For honesty, integrity, and 100% customer satisfaction, call ProTech 407-291-1644 or visit ProTechAC.com. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's News and Talk. talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
Well, this morning I was filling in for Brian Kilmeade on his national show, and I'll be doing it again tomorrow morning as well, 9 a.m. to noon. I hope you'll tune in. It's a lot of fun when I get to fill in for Brian Kilmeade. But this morning I was talking to Michael Goodwin, a columnist for the New York Post, and I was asking about that Governor DeSantis says that he would consider pardoning Trump as a means of uniting the country. And Michael Goodwin said that you can't pardon Trump if he hasn't committed crimes. He's got to have committed crimes before he can be pardoned, and he has to be convicted of crimes before he can be pardoned. Well, we're not there yet with regards to Donald Trump, but it's not hard to imagine out of all these indictments, at some point he is going to be charged with a crime, and there will be an opportunity for a president to pardon Donald Trump. So Ron DeSantis then is vowing. He's citing President Gerald Ford's pardoning of his predecessor, Richard Nixon, following the Watergate scandal as a way to move the country beyond Nixon's actions. So he's saying as a means of uniting the country, he would pardon Donald Trump. Now, here's why I think this is bunk. It's a bad idea, and I don't know if DeSantis is to be believed when it comes to this idea. Because half of the nation absolutely hates Donald Trump. At least half of the nation. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we are so polarized as a nation. Half of the nation absolutely hates Donald Trump. So if Ron DeSantis were to pardon Donald Trump while in office, for the sake of unity, he's only uniting Republicans. And we will still be a divided nation. In fact, we might be more divided because the people who hate Donald Trump would then transfer their hate to Ron DeSantis for pardoning Donald Trump. For whatever reason, Democrats want their pound of flesh and then some out of Donald Trump. And pardoning Donald Trump is not going to unify the nation. And if Ron DeSantis is going to pardon Donald Trump to unify the country, then Ron DeSantis needs to be prepared to similarly pardon Joe Biden if Joe Biden is charged and convicted of crimes. And frankly, at this point, it's not hard to imagine Joe Biden being charged with crimes. Heaven knows Joe Biden has committed crimes. Whether or not someone is going to have the stones to charge Joe Biden and whether or not a jury would convict Joe Biden is yet to be determined. But that would do a better job of unifying the nation than pardoning Donald Trump. What do you think? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or you can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Do you buy it when DeSantis says he would consider pardoning Trump to unite the country? And would you agree that the only way to unite the country is and by the way, I'm not advocating, I'm not suggesting that Ron DeSantis should pardon Joe Biden if Biden is convicted of crimes. I'm saying that maybe neither of them should be pardoned. But it's got to be either neither or both if you're doing it for the sake of unity. Now, if you're doing it for the sake of being railroaded by our Justice Department, then pardoning Donald Trump would be the way to go. Because it certainly seems as if Joe Biden has committed more real crimes than Donald Trump has even been accused of. I mean, we know full well that Trump's, the charges against Trump, claims against Trump, accusations against Trump are all, if you will, trumped up. So you can pardon Donald Trump. You can make that claim, and it's easy to make that claim as a candidate, because when push comes to shove, you may not actually have to fulfill that campaign promise. But it seems like that's one of those campaign promises that Ron DeSantis is making. And again, to keep in mind here, at this point in the game, at this point in the election process, my vote is going to go to Ron DeSantis before it goes to Donald Trump. But this seems like a pretty blatant case of pandering to Republicans, because Ron DeSantis is trying to drive a wedge between Trump supporters and Donald Trump, because Ron DeSantis needs those votes himself. So I think Ron DeSantis has made a calculated decision here to announce that he would be willing to pardon Donald Trump if he's elected president, but that is purely so that Ron DeSantis can pick up some of those Donald Trump voters. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. John is joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show. Hey, John, you're on WDBO. Thanks for checking in.
Hi, John. Hi, Joe. I appreciate your show. You had mentioned that you feel like half the country despises Trump is the reason why, if I'm stating this correctly, is the reason why the country is at odds with each other, half against the other half. I have to disagree with that. I think that no matter who it is that pushes back on the worldview that liberals have, the Democrats have, is going to receive ultimately that same kind of hatred. The two worldviews we have in our nation right now are so diametrically opposed. You have one side that really is just fighting for wickedness. I mean, it's on a biblical proportion. So,
John, I agree with you. I agree. And you have stated it very articulately, and I agree with you. But at the moment, Donald Trump is the figurehead of the right, and Joe Biden is the figurehead of the left. And so perhaps I have oversimplified it, but yes, we've got a culture war going on in the United States. I mean, just look at transgender-related issues. Transgender-related issues have divided us along ideological lines, along party lines, and I mean, we are evenly split on issues like that. But we are 50-50 split as a nation when it comes to politics, and that is, 50%. I mean, statistically speaking, I'm not wrong. Half of America hates Donald Trump.
Right, because he's pushed back on some of these things that they want to fight for.
Sure.
I think that, liberals are at this point now fighting for things that are wicked, and that there's no way that you can't compromise with wickedness. You just can't do it, or you become a part of that wickedness. So I think that's why any leader who pushes back on the things that they're fighting for is going to receive that same kind of hatred. That's really all I have to say.
John, thank you. I'm so glad you checked in. I appreciate that very much. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Let me throw another log onto the talk radio fire here, if I can. This out of Illinois. The governor there has signed a bill allowing foreign nationals to become police officers. Yes, foreign nationals, non-American citizens, can become police officers. Can you imagine you're driving down the road, you see the lights and siren behind you, you hear the siren, see the lights, you get pulled over, and find out you're getting a ticket from someone who's not an American citizen? Does that not seem like a fundamental breach of the American way? To have non-American citizens arresting American citizens? I get that Illinois, like every other state, is desperate for police officers right now. We have dealt cops dirty for the last few years, and we have made their job infinitely harder. Now, part of this is of their own doing. And it kind of plays back into the divided nation that we live in right now. I mean, I can't say it's half and half, but a pretty good portion of the United States hates cops. And a pretty good portion of the United States loves cops. And if you introduce foreign nationals as police officers, I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine. This just seems like a terrible idea. Illinois has been facing shortages of police officers. Well, here's an idea. Pay them better, treat them better. It's just like teachers. We have a shortage of teachers here in Florida. Pay them better, treat them better. It's not hard to figure out. Pay them better, treat them better. You don't need to hire foreign national police officers. There are plenty of men and women, outstanding men and women who would like to be police officers, but they want to be treated better and they want to be paid better. It's not hard to figure out. But instead, Illinois is going to resort to hiring foreign nationals as police officers. Here in Florida, our governor, DeSantis, came up with, I think the figure was $5,000 bonuses to any police officers that we hire from out of state. So we are robbing other states of police officers so that they can be cops here in Florida because we're paying them more and treating them better. Illinois, on the other hand, is just going to they're going to hire foreign nationals. They'll probably go to AI and robotics, whatever it takes to not have to pay them more and treat them better. This is such an easy formula to figure out. Pay them more, treat them better. Pay them, get a tattoo of that. The mayor of, the governor of Illinois should have a tattoo. Pay him more, treat him better. The Democrat governor, J.B. Pritzker, signed the bill on Friday. Foreign nationals can now become police officers anywhere in the state of Illinois. 844-580-WDBO. What do you think? It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. We'll get more of your calls and comments. Coming up straight ahead, look for the Joe Kelley podcast wherever you get your podcast. It's the Joe Kelley Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the WDBO app. And take a look. If you're on Facebook right now or Facebook later today, look for the Joe Kelley Show Facebook page. Give it a like. We put a lot of extra content up there as well. Plus, you can see the video feed and so much more. Just look for the Joe Kelley Show on Facebook. We'll continue straight ahead here on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
Joe, so far as DeSantis saying he's going to pardon Trump, come on. He's a politician. DeSantis has been really sliding down the rope lately, and he's trying to find any way to climb back up that ladder. And so, as you said, I believe the other day, I don't believe any politician. So it's just another hogwash, which Democrats, Republicans, and everybody's using.
Yeah, I totally, I get that.
Foreign nationals as police officers. What a joke. What has happened to this country? We cannot let Democrats run anything. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Illinois now is going to allow foreign nationals in the state of Illinois. The Democrat governor signed this on Friday. Allow foreign nationals to become police officers.
All right, I was watching the live feed on Facebook, and you started talking about the foreign nationals being police officers. How exactly can you be a police officer if you can't swear an oath to the Constitution because you're not a citizen of our nation? How exactly does that work in Illinois? It's a little messed up, isn't it?
You know, we do it in the military, right? Don't we? We've got foreign nationals with, green card holders in the U.S. military. So if they can swear an oath in the U.S. military, I'm sure there's a way to swear an oath in the police services, police force, police officers. Laurel, I got a question for you. When you microwave food, do you microwave in plastic containers or do you move things out of plastic containers before you microwave it?
Typically, I move it out of it because I heard once about some chemicals bleaching into the food or whatever, but some days I'm really lazy and I just leave it in there.
So I'm kind of the same way. In fact, I have been microwaving. I will move things out of a glass container into plastic to microwave it. But so I've had this story that I've been sitting on for a while, and it just hasn't tickled my fancy enough. And then I saw a subsequent story, and the headline grabbed me. The headline from a Wired.com story reads, "For the love of God, stop microwaving plastic." So I went back to this original story that I had printed out a couple weeks ago, and it's from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. The University of Nebraska at Lincoln did a big study on this, and they say that the fastest way to heat food and drink might also rank as the fastest route to ingesting massive quantities of minuscule plastic particles. That according to research from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Experiments have shown that microwaving plastic baby food containers available on the shelves of U.S. stores can release huge numbers of plastic particles, in some cases more than 2 billion nanoplastics and 4 million microplastics for every square centimeter of container. What? You know, I look at our plastic containers that we put in the microwave all the time, and it doesn't look like tiny pieces of plastic are missing. But I guess I don't fully comprehend the difference between micro and nanoplastics, how small micro and nanoplastics must be. And this has nothing to do, at least it shouldn't have anything to do, with the pollution in our oceans and the plastics in our oceans and stuff like that. The plastics in our oceans are industrial plastics, and many of those are breaking down into nano and microplastics. This truly has to do with your personal health and surviving this. And the plastics are not digestible. So not only can they leach into your system, parts of the chemicals are going to shed into your physical system, but the rest are going to get wasted out. And they do then enter the water supply eventually. They enter the wastewater treatment facilities, and this is where they really came to be noticed is through the wastewater treatment facilities, because they kept noticing, when you get, whether they're nano or microplastics, but when you get millions and millions and millions of them together, they start to become visible. You see them. You realize, what is this? What is going on? What is happening in our water filtration systems? And it is these plastics. So suffice to say, as the headline says, for the love of God, stop microwaving plastic. I feel like I might make a greater effort to stop microwaving plastics, but I cannot commit to that. Because as an example, I had spaghetti yesterday, which should be a surprise to no one. And it came in a plastic container, and there was no way I could move it safely to a paper plate or something like that, because it would mess up the order of the layers of sauce, cheese, and pasta. A man's got to have priorities here. You understand what I'm saying? At 6:30, we'll continue the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
So, Paul, I'm sorry, explain that to me again. How is it, BOGO? What is the deal here? Because I know where a Wendy's is, and I'm hungry.
It's a buy one, get one. Of course, that is what BOGO stands for. Yeah. And if you buy a Dave's single, a spicy chicken sandwich, a 10-piece nugs, or a medium frosty, you get another for only $1.
Whew. So I could get 2 burgers on the way home.
For $1 more for that second burger.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good. I might do that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Oh, of course, it's my job.
You know, having worked in radio for a few years, and particularly as a talk radio host, news radio host, it really gets to the point where there are rare. It's rare that I come across a news story. New, not news, new story. It's rare that I read a story and think, I've never heard of such a thing. Well, here is such a story. Here's a story in which I went, never heard of such a thing. And I'd be willing to bet that when I share this story with you, you will collectively all go, I've never heard a story like that. There's a new housing development going in Gastonia, North Carolina. No, how does that song go, Laurel? No one does something like Gastonia. No one.
You're trying to sing the Gaston song from Beauty and the Beast?
Maybe.
No one. Something like
lifts
Gaston.
weights like Gastonia. All right, never mind. So there's a new housing development in Gastonia, North Carolina, that is requiring residents to fly the American flag on their front porch in a show of patriotism. It's called the 1776 Gastonia Project. It's some 30 minutes outside of Charlotte, and they're creating residences for 55 and older for a community that they say blends patriotism, the American dream, and the founding ideals of the United States. So they're going to require, it's only 43 homes, which is a pretty small community. I regrettably was once the Homeowners Association president for a community that had 74 homes, and that was a pretty small community. This one only has 43 homes, so that's smaller than even that, obviously. Simple math. I'm good at simple math. Lesser and greater than. Okay, so here's my thoughts on this. Nothing says liberty and freedom more than requiring someone to fly the American flag on the front of their house. That doesn't sound like liberty and freedom to me. If everybody is forced to be patriotic, then nobody is patriotic. Are they going to make us put pictures of the president in our houses like they do in North Korea, like they do in China? Are we going to have pictures up? Are we going to have to do that as well if we want to live in that community? I think it is perhaps a noble thought. It's a patriotic thought. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody flew their American flag? Wouldn't that be nice? But requiring people to fly an American flag? And I understand for the first residents that move in, they're going to know full well what the rules are. And if you move into a community that has rules that you have to fly an American flag, that's the thing about moving into communities with HOAs. You can't move into an HOA community and then say, oh, I don't like the rules. Well, damn it, you knew the rules before you moved in. What do you guys think about a community that requires the flying of an American flag? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. I'd be curious to get your take on that. I haven't owned a home since my divorce. That was the last time I owned a home. So it's been, 4 years or so since I've owned a home, 4 or 5 years. And so I don't fly flags because I don't have a home on which to fly them. But when I did own a home, I would fly a flag on the flag holidays, on your Independence Day, Flag Day, any other patriotic holidays, I would be happy to fly a flag. But flying it every day, there's a lot to maintain. There's flag code when it comes to flying flags day and night. There are certain rules, not laws. It's flag code is not law. But, flag code at night, you have to have a light on your flag. If you're going to fly a flag 24 hours a day, if you're going to fly it at night with no light on it, you need to take it down at dusk. Put it up at dawn. Is that something that you're willing to do if you have an American flag on your house? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or use the open mic in the WDBO app. Have you guys ever heard of Kratom? Paul Cross, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, I learned something. My daughter was in the ROTC. Something I didn't know before is when you lower the flag to half mast or half staff, I didn't understand that they have to raise the flag all the way to the top and then lower it.
That's right.
You can't just raise the flag in the morning, raise it to half mast. You have to raise it all the way and then lower it half. And that was something I never knew.
Yeah,
Another flag protocol.
I learned that in the Boy Scouts. I'm telling you that of course, that was old school Boy Scouts. That was when it was literally called the Boy Scouts, and it was just boys. I cannot vouch for today's scouting organization because my boys weren't in it, so I don't know. But I learned more in the Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I learned more in the Boy Scouts that is applicable on my day-to-day life than I did in school or college.
That's probably why I didn't know that, because I was in the Girl Scouts. So
yes.
it
didn't work. Yeah, perhaps they didn't teach that there. I just mentioned, have you guys ever heard of Kratom? Paul, have you ever heard of Kratom? Kratom. Laurel, have you heard of Kratom?
No.
So Kratom is an herbal supplement that you can find at smoke shops, vape stores, truck stops, gas stations. Not your legit gas stations like a Wawa, but at some of your less legit gas stations, your less legit stores. You'll find Kratom at the checkout stand. Kratom is an herbal supplement that a Florida mom died from Kratom, and she was awarded $11 million in a wrongful death lawsuit against its manufacturer. Now, Kratom comes from a plant that comes from Asia. Don't ask me to pronounce the name of the plant, but suffice to say, the word is pronounced Kratom for the powder that comes from the plant. And you can find it. It comes under all kinds of crazy names. In fact, it comes under crazy names just like marijuana does. I mean, marijuana these days has all kinds of crazy names. But in this particular case, this woman who died was taking something called Kratom Distro Space Dust. Space Dust. It's not regulated by the FDA. It is derived from a plant. This 39-year-old woman, Crystal Talavera, she was a nurse and a mother of four. She was planning to surprise her partner with a Father's Day breakfast on June 20th, 2021, when she suddenly lost consciousness at their Boynton Beach home. The father of her youngest son found her lying face down in the living room beside a coffee mug containing her latest purchase of space dust. You can take Kratom in a variety of ways. You can mix it like tea. There are several shops. In fact, you might be driving by one of the shops right now. Just look for signs that say Kratom. If you're near a smoke shop, vape shop, Kratom is a big seller. It is an absolutely big seller. And it is used by, it is used for a variety of reasons. I will tell you this. I have taken Kratom, and I took Kratom pretty consistently for a couple of years here in Orlando. I'd have to go to a smoke shop to find Kratom. I took Kratom for pain relief. Kratom, I hate to say this out loud. I hate to say this on the radio because, in fact, I've never mentioned this on the radio before because I don't want to encourage other people to do it. Because Kratom can be very dangerous. It can be deadly if you take too much Kratom. But a couple of the ways people use Kratom is for pain relief. People use it for anxiety relief. And some people who are opioid users use Kratom to get off of opioids. But it has an opioid-type effect on you. And if you're using Kratom, I almost said opium, but if you're using Kratom or anybody in your family is using Kratom, you need to be mindful that this can kill you. And there are numerous documented cases. A couple hundred people a year die from Kratom overdoses. But this is the first of a kind $11 million lawsuit as this woman her family has been awarded this after her death. I don't use Kratom anymore. and I would never go back to using Kratom again, even though it did help. It did help with pain relief for me. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Connected to our community. Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston. No one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston. For there's no man in town half as manly. Perfect, a pure paragon.
I'm just telling you, if I lived in Gastonia, North Carolina,
and they'll tell
I would find a way to incorporate this song into the city's branding efforts. All right, we're talking about the American flag in Gastonia, North Carolina. Mike is joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Joe? How's
Great.
everything?
Very good, thank you.
My opinion is simply this. I'm a veteran, over 21 years of service with the Air Force. And if you have to be forced to hang a flag, an American flag, to me, you're not a patriot. You got to want to hang that flag. You got to want to love that flag. You got to want to love this country.
Right, and I think it's the antithesis of loving this country. If you are required day and night to fly a flag, I mean, it just liberty and freedom should go hand in hand with being an American citizen. And there is no liberty or freedom if you're required by law to hang a flag out in front of your house.
And real quickly, one more thing. I live in a 55 and over community here in Central Florida, and I got down here in 2018, and it's a brand new community. They didn't require us to hang a flag if you don't want to. Okay, that's the way it should be.
Yep, absolutely. Mike, thank you so much for your service to this country. Thank you for listening to WDBO.